I'm trying out a few new things. I got a new microphone here. I'm trying that out and see like if it's better or was it better when I was streaming regular. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for a few people to come in the room before I start. And I forgot, it's been so long since I have streamed on YouTube. I forgot like all of the rules. So I don't even know if we can play music or anything like that, or if they're gonna strike my channel. I totally forgot. So if you no, I'm gonna just look it up later. But if you know, go ahead and let me know in the comments. Sis, you up there? Oh, I got one person in here. Let me see. Hey, BB. How you doing, beautiful? You are bad. You still a bad. Let me see. I was trying to wait for a few more people to come in the room before I started. Uh, so let me know. Can you hear me good? Cause I'm testing out a new microphone here, and I mean it came through good. I'm so irritated right now. I'm gonna share a secret because I keep looking at it, and I know nobody else is gonna notice but me. But this freaking eyelash of mine, it's irritating me so bad. It's like coming up in the front. Y'all, this is my first time putting on my own set of eyelashes. That's why they giving me hell right now. Where's my chat? Can you guys hear me? All right. So, the audio is fine. I know I shouldn't say nothing, but it was irritating me. Anywho, today I'm gonna be talking about expanding our capacities for more. So the core message for today, okay, got it. So the core message of today is that abundance isn't simply about receiving more. It's becoming someone who can steward more. And this lesson, it's not about earning your worth. It's about growing in wisdom, responsibility, discernment, and capacity so that what enters your life has somewhere healthy to remain. So, peace, family. Welcome back. Thank you all for joining. And I just saw your comment about the freaking eyelash, and I just looked up again. I'm gonna be able to do this live if this eyelash keep bothering me. I ain't even gonna hold you. I ain't gonna hold you. Anywho, I'm gonna try to get through this. So, um, I hope you guys got a chance to tune into last week's live. We talked about honoring the survivor, the part of you that has survived through a lot. And we also talked about building with what is already in your hands. And I'm going to have to be honest. I was thinking about that lesson all last week because I had realized something. First of all, I'm realizing that this eyelash is getting on my last nerve every time I look. I'm gonna cut that out. But I can't deal with it. The thing is just like it's lifting up right at the front. All right. I'm gonna ignore it this time. Okay, so what I was saying is that starting things I see that isn't really, no, I'm not gonna come back. I'm gonna just ignore it because I'm gonna be sitting here. I've been trying to fix this thing for about 2 hours and it keeps doing the same thing. So I feel like it's just the eyelash itself. So I'm gonna just leave it alone. Yes, okay. But anywho, back to the lesson. I realized something when I was thinking about last week's lesson, and that is that starting isn't usually our biggest problem, but keeping what we start, that's where many of us struggle. So I want to ask you something. How many of you have ever wanted something so badly? You worked for it, you prayed for it, and then you finally received it only to watch it disappear from your hands. Maybe it was money, maybe it was a relationship, maybe it was your peace, maybe it was your confidence, maybe it was an opportunity or even your own voice. For years, whenever I lost something, I immediately started to blame myself. I would think, here we go again. I always mess things up. I guess it wasn't meant for me. These are all of the things that I'm saying to myself, you know. And has anybody else ever thought like that? You have? Yeah, I think that a lot of more people have than they are really willing to admit, because losing something, it really hurts, especially when you care about it, especially when you work hard for it, especially when you thought, like, I'm so excited, this is finally my moment, and then one day. So I realized that I was asking the wrong question. So instead of asking what's wrong with me, because I used to say that, like, what is wrong with me? All this stuff, I'm losing all this stuff. What about this relationship? What about this? And just started asking myself, what was I missing? Because those are two totally different questions. We're going from what's wrong with me, victimization, to what am I missing? So now we're in a situation here where we're able to possibly find a solution to what is going on. So one produces shame, and then the other is going to produce growth. So I found a different way to look at loss. And I do want to be careful here because I'm not saying that everything we lose is because we lack capacity. Sometimes people leave because they choose to leave. Sometimes opportunities disappear for reasons that are outside of our control. And sometimes life simply be lifing. It just happens. So I'm not talking about every loss here. I'm talking about the losses that become our teachers. Those moments where you can look back years later and honestly say, I wouldn't have handled it that way, or I wouldn't have handled it the same way that I would today. And that is wisdom. Not shame. That's wisdom. Because wisdom lets you honor where you are without staying there. It's an acknowledgement. So, this this is a personal lesson that I'm going to share because it ties into what the lesson is. So, once upon a time in my life, I received six figures. Now, when people hear that, they usually think, well, she made it, you know, not even close. I lost it. And for years, that story embarrassed me. I didn't tell not a soul because I thought it proved something about me. I thought it proved that I was irresponsible, that I wasn't smart enough, that maybe I wasn't meant to have money. But over the years, I've looked back at that version of myself that I was with much more compassion. That's why last week's lesson was about honoring those parts of us. Like, not, you can acknowledge it and still use the wisdom that you gain from it to grow. So, you know, that version of me, she wasn't bad. She wasn't lazy. She wasn't undeserving. She was young. So I'll think about that for a minute. How many of us judge our younger selves using the wisdom that we didn't even have yet? And that's not fair to yourself. That's not fair to ourselves. So I expected, you know, for me back then to think how I think now, and I couldn't because I just wasn't there yet. That person trusted people that she believed loved her. She believed that even family would never do certain things, but and she didn't learn boundaries yet. She hadn't learned stewardship. She hadn't learned how to protect what had been entrusted to her. And looking back, I don't believe that I've lost things that I have lost because I didn't deserve it. I believe I simply hadn't had developed the capacity to hold it yet. And that is the realization that changed everything for me, because if capacity can grow, then my future doesn't have to be limited by my past. Um, so it wasn't just about money. That's when I started looking at my whole life, and I noticed something. I didn't just lose money, I've lost relationships. What, many of, well, not many, because I've only lost one relationship publicly, and it dissolved because it was time to. I'll just be all the way honest with you. And we'll talk about that on in another episode. But I've lost relationships, I've lost friendships, I've lost homes, I've lost cars, I've lost opportunities, I've watched seasons come and go, the list goes on, and every single time I blamed myself. But I don't do that anymore. Now I ask a different question. What was that season trying to teach me? Because every season leaves something behind. Sometimes it leaves pain, sometimes it leaves wisdom, and sometimes it leaves both. And I realized that the greatest gift many of those seasons left me wasn't the thing itself, it was the understanding that I gained after everything was gone. And that understanding, that's what no one can take from me. So, I want you to think about your own life just for a moment, not with any shame or regret, just with honesty, and ask yourself, what is something that you've lost that taught you something priceless? And you can take your time with that because that answer may reveal where your capacity has already grown. Thank you. Thank you. Something happened when I started thinking about capacity. This is a word that I had really started to think about because when most people hear the word capacity, they think of something that is getting bigger or expanding. A bigger bucket, a bigger bank account, please. A bigger house, a bigger opportunity, but that's not what comes to my mind anymore. When I hear capacity, I think about stewardship, responsibility, protecting something, organizing something, and sustaining something. Because honestly, anybody can receive something, but keeping it, that's a different skill altogether. Think about it. Money, when you receive money, that's one skill. Managing your money is a different skill because a lot of people, you can receive money, but it's just take a look at people who win the lottery. Why is it that people who win the lottery, they received all of this money, but then they end up broke? Relationships. Let's look at relationships. Meeting someone is one thing, building trust over the years, that's a whole nother thing. Leadership. You can start a business, that's exciting. Leading people, that's capacity. And peace. We all say that we want peace, but peace requires boundaries. Peace requires saying no. And I just saw a comment come in. Hold on, where'd it go? Jet, I'm gonna just address it. Just why does it not let me see the whole thing? All right, let me see. Let me see my live chat. Okay. Jan. Jan said, is there a reason why you're not explicitly talking about your experience with narcissistic abuse? Wait, let me pull my chat up again. You could save a lot of women because they're still recruiting. Okay, so let me pause my lesson that I'm talking about because this all has to do with the same thing. What I'm teaching right now is for people to get out, or women especially, to get out of scarcity mindsets and also to get out of like high control situationships. And that takes some time. It's not going to happen all at one time. And I feel like, me personally, I'm not going to be explaining myself. I've done that for years. I'm sorry. I've done that for years. I have explained myself and my situation, and only for people to come and ask the same exact thing. So I think that in due time, those conversations will happen. But I feel like they are unfolding. There's different parts of leaving narcissistic abusive relationships. A lot of that has to do with the woman's self-worth, her confidence, and that is why I'm talking about what I'm talking about now, because these are all of the things that I've struggled with. And if I had a better relationship with myself and the things that I'm talking about, I feel like um there's a way to get out of those type of dynamics. You see what I'm saying? But to answer your question, I am helping women. I just don't. I do it like a different way. You see what I'm saying? So, um, please respect the way that I cope and how I heal and even how I grieve. This is how I do it. Okay. So there will be a time where I will get into explicitly that because I know that people want to hear about it. But right now, I'm not talking about that. I'm also building a library to where people can come back where they having certain issues with stuff and they can have the resources, because a lot of times we don't have a lot of resources for ourselves, especially us being young Black women. We don't have a lot of positive reinforcement. We have a lot of like sexualized content, stuff like that. But when it comes to speaking positive and abundance and um, knowing and learning your worth and who you are, that takes time. And a lot of time people don't have patience for it because it's boring. It's hella boring. Like, I know y'all probably like, girl, can you stop talking right now and turn on some music so we can get this party going? Like, that's why a lot of people don't get into these subjects, because it's really boring. And that's why I'm here. Because I love boring. I love drama too. I ain't gonna flex. I like drama, but I like to be able to leave stuff for people to use later on or whenever they need it. So I'm gonna get into narcissism. Don't worry. I'm gonna get into all of that because my lessons are coming from experience, and so that's why when you're listening, I'm putting examples in here. And I'm also making a way so that people who are in high control relationships or situationships who want to leave, they can be able to reach out to me so that I can be able to guide or be a guide for them, or set up a consultation or something like that. I know there's a lot of different ways that I can help people. It's not just one. So I know I was really long winded with that, but to get back to my lesson, okay? Where was I? Let me look at my chat real quick. And thank you guys for being here. I just want to say, if you catching the live right now or if you catching it later, thanks for being here. Yeah. And that's why I'm able. Thank you, Ray said, do it at your own pace. Healing is your, yeah. I heal differently. I'm a Leo rising, so they say that Leos, they lick their wounds over in private. You know what I'm saying? I be crying. Sometimes I be crying. You know, I ain't gonna do it on camera though, because I gotta be strong for people. You know what I'm saying? But it will come a time where I will be helped. But I kind of, I do heal differently. So, and Cora, I'm gonna just call you Cora because I can't pronounce the other one. I hope that answers your question. You know, I know that people want to hear about that story, but there's so many times I can talk about it. You know what I'm saying? It becomes a time where it's like, yo, is your life only that? You know what I'm saying? Like, other stuff. All right. So yeah. Let me go back to where I was. We were talking about capacity, right? And the where I left off was peace. Um, Mainly because we all say that we want peace, but peace does require boundaries, and that was a little boundary that I put up right now, because a lot of people, they will have those questions. They will come in here and they will try to kind of, they want to know. And I'm not saying don't ask. Feel free to ask, but you know peace does require boundaries. It requires saying no, not right now, not at this time, maybe at a later date. I already have something planned, but we will get into that. Peace requires protecting your time, because I know y'all don't want to be listening to me talk all day, or do you? Let me know. Drop it in there if you want me to. I'll talk about it. But peace requires letting people misunderstand you. And I know that, people, that's one thing that can throw you off balance, is when you want people to understand you so bad. You want people to get your story. You want people to get why you did something, why you chose what you chose. But let them misunderstand you. Let them wait for when it is that you're ready. Everything we ask life for, I'm going to say this because nothing comes for free. Everything that we ask life for, it is eventually going to ask something from us, and that's capacity. Think about a cup. Imagine that you had a cup. The cup can only hold so much. If you keep pouring, eventually it's going to overflow. Now, here's the interesting part. Most people think, I need a bigger cup. Maybe. But what if the cup wasn't the problem? What if it had cracks in it? Now, it doesn't matter how much I pour because it has cracks in it. You're going to still keep losing what you're receiving. And that hit me one day, because I realized that maybe life has been pouring more into my life than I had realized. Maybe the issue wasn't always the pouring, more resources, more energy, more time. Maybe it was what I was pouring into. And Koran, this is kind of what you were asking me about narcissistic abuse. Sometimes women do not recognize narcissistic abuse because of what, like, when you think about the container, you're pouring and you're pouring. Maybe I would, even for me, let's take me for example, I wasn't pouring into myself. You know what I'm saying? Having that confidence in myself to actually speak up or speak out. And I talk about it a little bit in this video. And that was kind of hard for me to admit, you know, because I had holes in my bucket. So I asked myself, where are the holes? It's cha-ching. Okay, it's not in someone else's bucket, it's in mine. This is where the abuse starts, right? It's not the other person, it's me. They're just capitalizing off of the opportunity. That's another thing that we do. We become experts on everybody else's problems. Oh, I know what's going on with her. Meanwhile, when we looking at our own, we looking like Swiss cheese over here. Looking like goddamn pastrami. Okay, excuse myself. But for me, the first hole, people pleasing, big one for me. I wanted people to like me. I wanted people to approve of me. I wanted to avoid conflict. So I would say yes all the time when every part of me wanted to say no, or, you know, get out of my face. No. Have you guys ever done that before? Like you say yes even though you wanted to say no? I just wanted to be nice. I'm like, oh, I just want the person to like me. You knew that you should have said no. You even practiced saying no, and then they called. And then suddenly, yeah, I can do it. We've all been there. But every unnecessary yes, there was a little hole. And every time I ignored myself, another little hole. Every time I abandoned my own needs, another hole. Every time I kept quiet, a little hole. Then I wondered, why am I exhausted? Why does it feel like I'm always pouring into everybody else? I'm always there for everybody else's ideas, adventures, whatever it is they want to do, but never have anything left for me. That was because my bucket was leaking. One of the biggest holes in my bucket was losing my voice. There was a season in my life, and I'll talk. It was carbonation, where little by little, I stopped saying what I really thought. Not all at once, but that's not usually how it happens. It happens quietly when you tell yourself, it's not worth saying. I'm just gonna let it go. I don't want conflict right now. They probably know better than I do. And little by little, your voice gets quieter until one day you don't even recognize yourself anymore. So, looking back, I don't think that I lost my voice overnight. I think I gave little pieces of it away, one conversation at a time. Every time I compromised, I gave a little piece of it away. Um, every time I doubted myself, oh, I gave a big chunk of it away. Uh, that's why, right, Ray, gradually. That's why reclaiming your voice is part of expanding your capacity, because how can you steward your own life and be there for yourself if you no longer trust yourself enough to speak? And then there was a hard truth that I had to accept. I used to think maybe it just wasn't mine to keep. Maybe the relationship wasn't mine. Maybe the opportunity wasn't mine. Maybe the money wasn't mine. Maybe success wasn't meant for me. Then I started thinking differently. Like, what if it actually was mine? I just didn't develop the capacity yet. I just didn't know my worth to hold it all yet. But that's a completely different conversation, because if it wasn't meant for me, there's nothing that I can do. But if I can grow, if I can learn, if I can develop wisdom, if I can become more discerning, then my future isn't defined by what I've lost. My capacity can expand. And that gives me hope. So I want to ask you guys something. What's one area where you're noticing your capacity growing? It may be you developed a strong boundary somewhere. Maybe it's your finances. You become more serious with it. Maybe it's speaking up, and congratulations to you. Maybe it's saying no. Maybe it's resting. A lot of people feel guilty about resting when they feel like they haven't done enough for the day. Maybe it's about trusting yourself. Feel free to share one in the comments if you want to. I love to hear where you're growing. Let me see. Let me check my chat. I have to keep putting my chat up because it disappears. Uh, go, Ray, go ahead, comment away. I love it. Go ahead, boo. Do your thing. Comment away. I love it. So, if capacity isn't just about receiving, and if capacity isn't just about getting bigger or expanding, then what actually helps us expand? That's where I think growth gets uncomfortable, because the next thing I'm about to say, most of us don't like, but it's true. People want abundance, but they don't always want the stretching that abundance requires. Because let me tell you something, abundance is boring as hell. Let me tell you. To do the work, I'm just saying, to do the work, because you have to take away all of the distractions, which made it fun. I mean, like, you don't have to take away all. I ain't gonna say you have to take away all of them, because you can still have fun. I still be listening to my sis. You a bad bitch. That, as long as it's positive, I like that, because it's helping me to reprogram all of those negative things that I've said about myself over the past few years. So I mean, I ain't gonna say abundance is boring, but you get what I'm saying, right? It is. I'm just saying. Um, so growth requires stretching. So if your capacity can grow, how does it grow? Because I don't know anybody who woke up one morning that was suddenly wiser, more patient, suddenly they're financially responsible and full of boundaries. If it worked like that, I always tell myself a joke, right? To my friends, because I've always been on the smaller side. And some of my friends, they're big. I'm gonna call them voluptuous, 'cause, I love it. But I always make a joke, right? Or I always say, because every time they start saying, "Oh, I need to lose a few pounds," I always say, "Zell it to me. Whatever you want to lose, go ahead and zell me them few extra pounds." And we be cracking up, because if it was that easy, if y'all could send me them extra few pounds that y'all don't want to my Zelle or my Cash App, if it was that easy, Lord, life would be easy. But that's not how growth works. Growth stretches us. Sometimes it stretches our thinking. Sometimes it stretches our emotions, our finances, our relationships, and sometimes it stretches our identity. Because here's something that I've been realizing: people want abundance, but they don't always want the stretching that abundance requires, because growth hurts. Ask the butterfly, ask your muscles after the gym. Expansion has always required stretching. We celebrate transformation, we celebrate that new booty and that new body, but we don't always celebrate the discomfort that created it. So that's why a lot of times we go back to what is familiar. And here's something that I think a lot of us do, and by in no way am I, generalizing. These are just, a set of collective thoughts that, I have come to understand over the past few years. Um, when we ask for something new, then it starts to change us. We run back to what's familiar, not because familiar is better, because familiar feels safer. Have you ever noticed that someone will leave an unhealthy relationship only to find themselves attracted to the exact same kind of person again? Anybody ever seen that? Or maybe somebody finally starts saving money, they're doing great. Then all of a sudden they start spending like crazy again. Nothing changed. It just felt uncomfortable having something that they were not used to keeping. Or maybe you finally experience peace. No drama, no chaos, nobody yelling at me over here, nobody calling me, excuse my line, nobody calling me a bitch over here, nobody calling me out my name over here, nobody disrespecting me over there. Everything's calm. And instead of enjoying it, you start wondering, when is something gonna go wrong? I mean, I've done that a lot. I start looking for stuff like, this can't be calm like this. Eventually, something's gonna start. Has that happened to anybody? Because sometimes chaos will feel more familiar than peace, especially when you have been raised in it and it has become the culture. That's why growth can feel strange, not because something is wrong, but because you're becoming unfamiliar with the old version of yourself. Sometimes in this culture, I sit back and I say, like, when did disrespect started becoming like the culture? Cause and I stopped going on live on Bigo because disrespect is the culture there. Chaos and drama is the culture there. And if I'm trying to move into a higher or a newer plateau where I'm trying to, get through certain things, if I put myself back into that, what am I becoming? I'm becoming the same. I'm not changing. So let's talk about the gym. I was thinking about working out, and when you first start, everything hurts. You wake up sore, walking hurts, sitting hurts, everything freaking hurts, bro. And now imagine quitting because you're sore. You're never going to become stronger. The soreness wasn't a punishment, the soreness was evidence that something is working, your body is adapting. Now, I'm not saying that every type of pain is good. Please do not, if you know there is a situation, somebody's putting your hands on you, no, please immediately leave. But I understand the different steps that it takes to leave situations like that, but not every pain is good. What I'm saying is that growth often asks something from us. It asks discipline, patience, consistency, humility, responsibility, and sometimes that is uncomfortable. The butterfly. Think about the butterfly. We admire butterflies. Nobody admires the cocoon. I walk past cocoons every day. I don't even see a cocoon. I'm like, where are all these cocoons at? Nobody hangs pictures of caterpillars up, but we love the finished product. But the transformation, it happens somewhere where people couldn't see. That's another thing that I've been thinking about as well. Everybody wants to be visible, or they want the visible blessing, but not everybody wants the invisible. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Everybody wants the visible blessing, but not everybody wants the invisible work, the quiet mornings, the hard conversations, the boundaries, the budgeting, the therapy, journaling, forgiving people who have wronged you, but not forgetting, the learning, the mistakes, starting over. Okay, those things don't always get an applause, but that's where your capacity is going to grow. And something that I'm still learning, and I'll be honest with you, I'm still learning this. Um, and I'm not teaching any of this because I've mastered it. I'm standing here because I'm committed to it. I'm still learning that it's okay to follow the path that's meant for me, because every one of us came here carrying something different. I don't believe we're all here to do the same thing. I think each of us carries a piece of humanity, a contribution, something that only you can give. The problem is that life gets loud. People have their opinions, and then when they assert their opinions, that's when fear gets involved. That's when comparison gets involved. That's when bills get involved, responsibilities. And somewhere in all of that noise, we lose touch with ourselves. If you know deep down that you, if you know deep down what you are here specifically to contribute, don't abandon it because somebody else doesn't understand it. Don't let someone else's confusion become your confusion because they can't see what was given to you. Only you can. That's why I stopped asking life, how do I get more? Now I ask, who do I need to become? Because I want to become someone who can keep it. You know what I'm saying? You can get it, but can you keep it? That's a better question because if I become more disciplined, I'll handle money differently. If I become more discerning, I'll choose relationships differently. If I become more confident, I'll use my voice differently. If I become more peaceful, I'll protect my peace differently. Do you see what changed there? I stopped chasing abundance and started becoming someone who can actually steward it. That means keep it. And keeping it, that's a whole different thing. Keeping it and actually being able to expand it, or multiply or see it grow. That's different. And that is the abundance recode. That's what these lessons are about. So I want to ask you something. Where are you stretching right now? Where are you looking to grow at in your life? Not where you are right now, but what you're working on, because I think we spend too much time pretending that we've already made it. And I rather celebrate the progress. And that's why I don't know if you guys have been able to read um I affirms. So I affirms was created because I am affirmations don't work for me. I can't just sit here and say I'm rich. My in the back of my mind, like I'll give you an example of how my mind works because I can't really lie to myself. I want to be able to honor the process of where I am instead of saying like, "Oh, I'm rich." Oh, no, because when I say I'm rich, in the back of my mind, I'm like, "Bitch, you got $5. What do you mean?" And that's how the subconscious mind it works. You don't want to work against your subconscious mind. You want to be able to honor the places that you are. So instead you could say something like, I'm becoming the person who can hold wealth. That really is going to change things to honor where you are and still allow that abundance to come in. So now that was there's one last thing I want to leave with you because I think this may be the biggest misunderstanding about abundance. People think that abundance is about getting more. I don't think that's true anymore. I think abundance is about becoming someone who can faithfully steward what was already what has already begun to enter your life, not asking like or simply what you already have in your life, being able to be okay with that and see that grow. And that's where I want to leave you tonight with one question that I've been asking myself. And that question is, if everything that I've been praying for arrived tomorrow, would I have the capacity to keep it? That's a good question, right? If you got $1 million, would you be able to hold on to that or make it, make it multiply? So we talked about capacity, we talked about stewardship, we talked about um, stretching, we've talked about the holes that we have in our buckets. Now the question becomes, how do I actually increase my capacity? Because if I stopped right there, that might leave you thinking like, okay, I get it, but now what? I don't want to ever leave people there. I want us to leave with something that we can actually practice. So, capacity is not built overnight. And one thing that I've had to learn is that capacity isn't built in one big moment. Excuse me. It's not built in one big moment, but it's built in little decisions over and over and over again. Nobody wakes up one morning completely disciplined or nothing like that. Those things are built one decision at a time. One courageous no or a courageous yes, if it is warranted. One responsible choice. Then you keep making steps towards that, and that's how the capacity grows, because sometimes we underestimate the small changes because they don't feel dramatic. But when you repeat small things consistently, that is what changes lives. You don't need more. And this is something that kind of hit me recently. When I just said you don't need more, I was like, I said to myself, like, bitch, yes, we do. We need it all. But I was saying, like, you don't need money first. Maybe you need a better stewardship. Maybe you need a better way of handling money or finances, right? Maybe you don't need more time. You just need clearer priorities or clearer boundaries. Maybe you don't need another relationship. Maybe you just need to become healthier inside for the relationships that you already have. Maybe you don't need more followers. Maybe you just need to faithfully serve the people that are already listening. And that changed how I started to pray and think, because instead of asking, give me more, sometimes I ask, teach me how to steward, or teach me how to hold what you've already placed in my hands. Even if you don't use spiritual language, the same principle applies. Focus on what you've already been entrusted with before chasing the next thing. Don't put your focus too many directions. Don't put your eggs in too many baskets. That is you're not gonna get the results that you're looking for, because your focus is divided. Um, One of the hardest lessons that I've learned is that abundance doesn't solve every problem. Having more money doesn't solve every problem. We hear people with money all the time, they still have problems, even though I want some of their problems. I want some of their problems. The problems that I want that they have, wealthy people have, it's like, what am I gonna buy? What am I going to invest this in? Those are some of the problems I want. Okay, back on topic. Sometimes we think if I had more money, I'd finally have peace. Maybe, maybe not. I've met people with money who couldn't sleep. I've met people with influence who felt completely alone. Who still, people who are always surrounded by others and surrounded by people, and they still feel unseen. That's when I realized that money is powerful, but it doesn't replace wisdom. Relationships are beautiful, but relationships don't replace your identity. Success feels good, but success don't replace your peace. Abundance is one thing. It's learning. Abundance is not just one thing. It's learning to live more fully. Your mind, body, relationships, purpose, finances, your voice, your character, it all matters. Sometimes people ask me, who are you becoming? And that's a question that I've been asking myself lately, not what am I building, who am I becoming while I build it? Because I don't just want a successful community. I want to lead well. I don't just want resources, I want wisdom. I don't just want opportunities, I want discernment. I don't just want people to hear me, I want my words to be worth hearing. There's a difference. Success without character can be dangerous. I've seen that firsthand. Influence without wisdom can be dangerous. I've seen that firsthand. Money without stewardship can disappear. I've seen that firsthand. Capacity protects what abundance brings. So this week, I want you to grab your journal and write down three things. Number one, what blessings am I asking for? Write them down. Think big. Don't shrink your dreams. Okay. Number two, if I received them tomorrow, what part of me would need to grow? Would it be patience, communication, financial wisdom, leadership, rest, boundaries, discipline, confidence? Write it down. Number three, what's one decision I can make this week that strengthens my container? Not next year, not someday, this week. And keep it small, keep it honest, and keep it consistent. So, thank you guys for tuning in. I love to hear from you. What's one part of your container that you're strengthening right now? Maybe you're learning to say no. Maybe you're budgeting. Maybe you're resting. Maybe you're finally using your voice. But if you are, share one thing and let's encourage each other. Before I leave, I want you to remember something, and please hear me. Your past Your past doesn't automatically determine your capacity. Capacity grows, wisdom grows, discernment grows, confidence grows. Your voice, it can grow. Your boundaries, they can grow. Your stewardship, it can grow. Just because you couldn't hold something before or that something wasn't right for you before, it doesn't mean that you will never be able to. Peace, honor. So don't confuse your past with your current capacity or with your future potential. That was your past. It has nothing to do with with the blessings that are waiting for you in your future. Those aren't the same thing. So the next question that I want to leave with you, not how do I get more? Ask yourself, how do I become someone who can keep what I'm asking for? Because I truly believe overflow requires an open heart, but it also requires a strong container with strong boundaries. Oh, let me check my comments. I saw one. Yes, that's right. Honor your past, it doesn't define you. So, thank you for spending time with me today. Honor, I just wrapped up my lesson. So Hopefully, if you are interested, you can catch it on the replay. The replay won't be available right now because I have to put it through the processing, but it should be available tomorrow for anyone who wants to catch that replay. So, for everyone, if this conversation encouraged you, I'd love for you to continue this journey with us inside the Abundance Recode community. There's a few sites that you can visit. In my school, the Abundance Recode School, I have daily recodes there. I do weekly teachings, thoughtful conversations, and it's just a space where we're learning together, one step at a time. Also, you can also find daily recodes, books, and resources, also blogs as well, on the abundancerecode.com. If this message supported you today and you would like to support this work and you want this to reach more people, you can also support the mission through a donation. My goal for today is $100, guys. So any and all is, I'm very thankful. It'll only just help us grow and expand. Also too, for the website, that one, what was I gonna say? Sometimes I get distracted, and I'm still distracted by this damn eyelash. Sorry, guys, but yeah. So I'm gonna be doing the lives and everything on YouTube. Also, you can check out the site, theabundancerecode.com, and also my school community where I'm going to be doing the weekly teachings and more in-depth conversations. So thank you guys all for being here. Thank you for growing with me. You guys like the video, share it with a friend. Subscribe to my channel. It's going to make it go up in the algorithm or whatnot. And we're going to get into more topics as we develop more. And remember, we're stronger together than separated. So thank you guys. Let me see if I'm going to. All right. I didn't see anything in here. All right, guys. I'll catch you guys later. I think honestly, I was mentioning earlier that a lot of times abundance and healing, right? When you're healing yourself from traumatic experiences and things like that, it could be boring. You know what I'm saying? Because the things that you used to distract yourself with are chaotic and not good for the person that who you are becoming. But tonight I feel like I want those problems. I think I was gonna go on Bigo for a little bit, not for a long time, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not. I don't like streaming on Bigo. I don't. But I might go on there just for like pop my head on there for a few seconds and see what everybody is doing. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next time.